So everybody, thank you for joining the UnitedMasters Select Conference. I am super proud for this fireside chat with one of my favorite entrepreneurs, Angie Nwandu. Angie built the Shade Room. I've had the pleasure of spending time with her and really getting a chance to understand her story. As a fellow entrepreneur, I love hearing the journey, the battles, everything that you've gone through to build a company. And Angie's kind enough to share that experience with everybody here today tuning in. So Angie, thank you for coming on and being part of UnitedMasters Select Con.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So Angie, I'm going to take you back really quick. What was your first passion? Like, before you decided to go into this entrepreneurial world, in which everybody uses that word, it's the buzzword of the day now. What was your last job?
Okay, so my last passion and my last job are two different things. My last job was I was working at Motorcycle Performance Services, and I was supposed to be an accountant. So that was my last job that I had. But my passion was writing. I had always wanted to be a writer because it was something that was therapeutic for me. I wanted to be a writer, but I remember what happened that made me feel like I couldn't be a writer anymore. And it was my freshman year of college. I remember somebody that I knew had dropped out of college because he sold a script for like $1 million. And I knew that I had that potential, right? And so I remember telling my friend, like, oh, I want to, write a script and drop out of college. And then I remember she told me that she was like, that is not for you. Like, that's not something that could happen for you. Like, you should kind of cut that. And so that's where my dream died. And I decided that I was going to, pursue accounting. So I graduated. I started to pursue accounting, but I was like extremely just depressed. And finally, I was put in a position where I was forced out of that job, So.
Well, let's talk about you. So as a writer, so you're an entrepreneur. That's what the whole spirit of this dialogue is. And you surrounded yourself with a group of people, and they told you for some unforeseen reason that you were not going to make it as a writer. So you weren't getting the support. You didn't have the support circle around you to give you the confidence that you could make it as a writer. And ultimately you ended up taking a job doing something you didn't love to pay bills.
To pay the bills.
Now, tell me how those two worlds collided again. Your passion to become a writer, and you were faced with the decision of your accounting job. Because I know you had a point in your life where those two things were at odds, and you had to make a decision.
Yes. So when I was at this accounting job, I had tried so many things. You know what I mean? I tried to do a clothing boutique that failed in 6 months. Then I went on to do, I dabbled into some other businesses that failed. And then finally, one day I decided that I was going to declare that I was no longer going to be a writer. And that I was no longer going to be an accountant. I'm sorry. That I was going to be a writer and I was going to pursue writing. And I just remember one day declaring that, and then somebody that I knew who was a mentor of mine, he connected me with a woman named Jordana that was going to put me on a script, right? And so I met with Jordana, and she was like, hey, I'm writing this script. I heard you're a writer, let's do the script together. I wrote the script with her. There was no plan for the script except for the fact that we were going to send it to Sundance. We sent it to Sundance. It made it in. And from there, that's where it started. I was working my job, and then I made it into Sundance. And then this entire
So
dream.
you submitted a script to the Sundance Film Festival
Yes.
while you had your accounting job. So
Mm-hmm.
regular side hustle, got your job, paying your rent, you got to do, and on the side you wrote the script, and boom, you got accepted into Sundance. It's a major accomplishment getting accepted.
It's a major accomplishment because it's like getting accepted into Harvard, or it's harder than getting accepted into Harvard or something crazy like that. So it was crazy that I was a first time screenwriter, and then we made it right in. So I knew that that was a sign from God that like writing was what I was meant to do. And so I pursued it. I went to the boot camp, which, was during tax season. And I was in the Sundance boot camp. Anybody that knows about the Sundance Writers Camp knows that it is extremely crazy. It's a boot camp. Quentin Tarantino was there as our mentor. Michael Goldenberg was there as our mentor. All kind of crazy stuff. And I wasn't at work. And so my boss called me and he was like, Angelica, like you're not at work, you're not there. You know what I mean? Like you either need to come back now or I'm gonna fire you. And
Wait. He said if you don't come back from Utah, which is where the film festival is, you're gonna lose your job. So you have to make a decision right there. Either you're gonna follow your passion or lose your job. Now, when you make this decision, you got to pay rent every month. Can you afford to lose your job?
First of all, it's even deeper than you think. So my boss was late on paying me. So my account was negative at that point. And so I was quitting before I even got my check to make sure that he would pay me for the back pay that he owed me at that time. And so my account was in the negative when I quit, but I had no choice because I was either going to fly back home to a job I hated or I was going to pursue my passion. And so I quit. I chose to stay. And I remember the moment that he called me was actually at the worst moment ever because it was when I was supposed to say a poem. I was supposed to, perform a poem because everybody at Sundance was performing a movie, but this was my first movie, so I could only show them my writing through poetry. And so I was performing a poem about my mom and my dad and my whole history, and I just started crying because I just quit my job and I realized it all hit me at that moment that I'm kind of messed up right now. Like, you know what I mean? My situation is kind of sticky.
So wait a minute. You quit your job. So the guy you working for is giving you an ultimatum and he owes you money. Your employer owes you money.
Yes.
You're trying to do the best performance of your life in front of your family. And you're stressed because you got no money in the bank, you're negative, and this writing thing is all you got left.
Yes. And so I get off the stage and I'm in tears and I'm walking and I kid you not, and I say it happened right after because so many people were there and they witnessed it. Michelle Satter, who was the head of the Sundance Lab, walks up to me and she's like, your poem like blew me away. And she was like, I want to invest in your writing career. She was like, here's $5,000 for you to just focus on writing. So that was for me confirmation number 2. You know what I'm saying?
You get up the stage, you get $5,000, hear from God. Right there, $5,000.
Now you know how small my is in retrospect, but at that time I was like, yes, my rent. You know what I mean? At least for a couple of months while I figure out how I'm going to survive, how I'm going to make money, what am I going to do? And so I calculated that it would last me in 6 months, but it really lasted like 3 months because, it's $5,000. It's not that much money. But during that time of writing the script and my money running low, right? I was like, I have to figure out something that's going to sustain me. And at the time, my friends were in grad school. They were successful. They had graduated. They were going to law school. They were doing, everything that people would, expect you to do after college. And here I was, working on a script that I didn't know how I was going to make money or anything. So that was where I was. And on one of those days, I remember, because I didn't have anything to do, I was always in the media, reading sites or, whatever about celebrities. I didn't have anything to do. And so I remember
Yeah.
So I remember my friend saying, well, you're always, talking about celebrities. You're always reading these sites. Why don't you create your own site? This is the same friend that told me I couldn't do the script, right? But she was the one that pushed me to do a site. And so I, created a site. I don't know. I feel like I'm running along, and just telling the story and not.
No. By the way, no, you're not. Because you're telling a story that people can relate to. When you are an entrepreneur, you're going down a path. You got to make a few decisions. You had one decision where whether you're going to go to Sundance and stay there, or you're going to come back to that accountant job. You stayed. You knew you were going to get fired. It was already, you had no money. You stayed, and then a sign came, and that sign was that $5,000. You come back to Los Angeles, and you got 3-4 months, whatever, to make it happen with the money you got. You're working on the script. You're doing your hobby, which is looking at blogs and the such, celebrity gossip sites, whatever. And then a moment comes. Let's talk about that moment. What hits you?
My friend tells me you should be doing this since you like it so much. And another hustle popped up in my mind. I'm not going to say that it was this idea that I felt would be the life-changing idea, because it wasn't. It was just a hustle for me at that point. So I started to look it up. I started looking at blogging and looking up, how to create, a blog. And everybody was like, don't do it. It's a dying industry. Like, don't do it. www is dying. Nobody goes to the www anymore. It's just a bad industry to enter. And that night, for some reason, rather than feeling like defeated, I said that my site, for whatever reason, is going to be successful. That's just the belief that I had in myself for everything. When I started the fashion line, I thought it would be successful. It failed. You know what I mean? But I believe in myself that if I do something, it could be successful. And so that day, I created the name, The Shade Room, and I started blogging. But I couldn't create a website because I had no money, first of all, left at this point. This was towards the end of the 3 months, okay? I didn't have any money left. And I didn't know how to do a site. All I knew how to do was open up an Instagram account. And so that's what I did. I opened up an Instagram account and I started blogging on Instagram. The first day, I got 300 followers. And I felt like that was a little fast, but 300 followers is nothing, to a lot of people. So I kept going. Within 3 days, I had 3,500 followers. And it was at that point that I called up one of my friends, and I was like, that's when I saw the vision. Well, who helped me see the vision of what the Shade Room would be? It was the roommates, this group of people who were loving the kind of writing that I was doing. I was blogging 24/7. Like, I would, when everybody was sleeping, I was putting out posts, and everybody was like, what is this? Like, we're not used to getting news in our Instagram feed. Like, we're not used to getting it like this. You know what I mean? They're used to going to the website at this point. And so, I'm in between them looking at their friends' posts, they're getting these tidbits of news, and it was something that was new for them. So they were excited about it. It was different. It wasn't traditional. And so I was building this following. And even though it was only 3,500 followers after 3 days, I knew, because they would tell me. They would say, this is something hot. This is something you should go.
So where did the name, can I just ask what made the name The Shade Room? Where did that come from?
If I remembered and knew, I would tell you. I wish I could remember. I have no clue where the name came from. It was an idea. It was you know how like when you come up with a good idea and you just like, "Oh, that's the name. That's it." It came to me, it was an idea and I said that's the name. And I
Yeah,
didn't and
I
I'll tell
got
you more about that name actually. Because when I came up with the name and when I finally decided to go down to the business to get a business license, right? Um, the lady asked me, she said, "Do you want your name, the business name, to be the Shade Room?" And I was like, "Yes." And she was like, I think you should make it like TSR Media Group." She was like, "Because I don't think anybody's going to write a check to the Shade Room." And I'm like, okay, name it the Shade Room. You know what I mean? I'm confident that people will eventually write checks, and they are. You know what I mean? But it was a
yeah.
name that I just knew was the name. I just had a gut feeling. It was an intuition. And so,
I had I was gonna say I got lucky with names with you know I for my company translation I had a bunch of bad names and
mhm.
I remember thinking, well, the world always needs translating. People always need to understand things. Things are always in code, and that will last forever. And I always felt like I was a translator. I could take one thing that somebody else says and translate it to another group, another audience, whether it be TV commercials or sports and basketball and sports and culture and music. And I just wanted to be the translator. And I named my company Translation, and UnitedMasters, the same thing. Actually, Pharrell gave me that name. I know when you're
Mm.
building a company, it's like naming your child. Um,
It
and
is.
it got to make sense to you. And every day
Mhm.
you say it, you got to feel inspired by it. And it don't really make a difference what anybody says, because if it's going to work, everybody will learn to love the name. So I
Yeah.
get going through that process.
Yeah, and I feel like the name to me, I've learned its meaning more so over time. It's revealed itself to me. Like I know why it's named the Shade Room more now than I did back then. You know what I mean? And so and also the name is one of the biggest parts of the Shade Room. When people hear the Shade Room, they're like, "What is that? I need to know what that is." Like something, what's
And I
happening
love
over.
roommates, the fact that you have your roommates, the whole thing I think is brilliant. I think you're one of the great American stories, business
Well,
stories. I told you that. Um,
yeah.
I couldn't be more proud of you, because every great story, whether it be Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg or you name the entrepreneur who built the business, and I'll tell you their humble beginnings, whether it was the garage that they started in or the
Hmm.
circumstances of doubt that they had to prevail from. And for you to be on your last 3 months and come up with this idea and then build it to where you are now, 20 million followings, as credible as ever, and you're just turned 30 years old doing your thing. I think everybody should applaud you, and because you're an icon in the fact that you have prevailed and built a business in a digital world as an African American woman, a real African American woman. You did that. Um,
Thank
so
you.
I'm a fan. Let me go on to, how hard has it been since you built the business when you start conducting yourselves with more traditional media companies? How have they looked at you? How have they treated you? Have they given you the props you deserve? Do they treat you like they put you on a small table? Like how are you respected, you feel, when you walk in the room and deal with these media companies?
You mean like other competing media companies, or like
Other
we're talking
competing, but
about?
the ones that aren't digital, the ones that are on television
Mm,
media
oh,
companies,
go.
like how do they feel when you walk in the room?
Well, first of all, I've spent so the Shade Room's been out for 6 years, right? We just hit our
How
sixth year
long?
and 6 years.
Hmm.
So we hit our 6 year anniversary in March. And I would say I've spent all 6 years pleading, okay, with studios and different media platforms to recognize the power of the Black audience, right? And I think it's been such a hard fight because they don't see the value in investing in the Black audience, even though the Black audience, when you look at like beauty, Black dollars count for over 50% of beauty, right? So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
why are you not going to where the Black audiences are and giving us, what we're due? Like, you know what I mean? As far as to get to our audience, I just don't understand it. And so I actually don't feel respected. I mean, I'll give you a very clear example of something that happened to me. I was in a meeting, trying to, talk with, a media company and explain to them, what our value is and everything like that. And they told me, when we told them our ad price, they said, "Oh, well, that's the same ad price as Complex on social media. We're not going to give you that." And I said, "What?" No diss to Complex because they're huge. But when we're talking about a social media post versus a social media post, Complex, the influence is at least, 50x. You know what I mean? The impact, the engagement is at least 50x. But just because it was Complex, they couldn't see past that. They couldn't see the numbers. They could only see that Complex. This is Complex, and we respect Complex more than we respect the Shade Room. And so it has been a hard fight for me. And I think that because of that hard fight, I've had to go and pivot our whole model. And so that it's not reliant on, the bigger companies to give us ad dollars, but that we are relying on our community. Our community spends the most money with us because they get the most money. When people see.
By the way, I'm raising my hand, like, I'm going to bring you media dollars. And I told you that. We sat down. That's my job.
Well, why
when I met Lisa.
It doesn't work. Why do you think that Black media companies don't get
Because,
the same?
because media companies are so built on understanding width, volume. That's all they think about is shallow volume. They don't put a price tag on depth. Like the fact that when somebody reads something on your site, on your page, they actually fucking believe it. They actually are engaged. When they read something on some other pages, there may be more people on BuzzFeed, but they don't fucking care. They just click it. They don't care. It don't mean nothing to them. It ain't like advice from a family member, from a friend. Those are two different things.
Right.
So when you talk to somebody, it has depth. When they talk to somebody, it's just words. But they don't know how to value the difference between depth and words. And that's the problem. And over time, you're going to beat them. My job, and whether it was, like when I met Lisa Price, who started Carol's Daughter, it was the same thing. You couldn't get any Black products in Sephora. The first place I went was I took her to Sephora, and we got into Sephora because I know it's important that we break down these types of walls. Like AT&T needs to be spending money with the Shade Room. Verizon should be spending money with the Shade Room. ExxonMobil should be spending money with the Shade Room, the biggest car companies. And that's my job to help you do that. I love that responsibility. That's why I love meeting entrepreneurs like you, because I can't do what you do. But what I can do is run up on these companies and point them in the right direction and tell them, this is the future. This is where you should be spending money. Stop wasting your time looking for love in all the wrong places. So that's the problem. It's a systemic problem in advertising. The advertising business is unfortunately the last people to come to the table. They're just the worst. They're run by people who are lazy and are not on top of what's next. And you are what's next.
But can I ask you a question?
Huh?
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
What do you think is the future of advertising? Like, do you think that digital media companies should continue to use advertising as their main source of income? Because, when we're talking about like Vice BuzzFeed, and we're talking about scale, just continuing to scale with advertising being the main source of revenue. Do you think that it'll hit a wall? Because you have to always have more eyes to get more advertising dollars.
It's true. It's true. I know what you're talking about. Look, I think that there's a certain amount of money, there's a ceiling that you're going to make in digital advertising. The bottom line is Google, Facebook, Amazon, that's their business. Okay? And the small guys, it's hard for them to get bigger. It's hard. It's like what Walmart did to the local hardware store. It's hard to be a local hardware store when there's a Walmart in town, right? That's what Google is to you.
Right.
However, there's something about the local store when they walk in, that person that they know, that they trust, that's there. So what you have to do is take the money you can as a digital advertiser, take it as far as you can, but then start building some of those silos, those shows and things on top of it that you can get a premium for. So you have to start building higher margin products.
Right.
On the fact that you have this great name. And we can talk about that. We talked about your subscription business that I urge you to build. The fact that you could actually create IP shows that are yours, that are part of the Shade Room's properties, that only you can build. Google can't build new things. It can scale things that already exist. You can actually build brands. So if I'm the Shade Room, I get as much digital money as I can, and I start building brands, whether it be a beauty brand, a fashion brand, some TV shows that are subscription based. I don't want to just give away all the ideas to you because I want you to do them and become a billionaire and become successful. And I don't want people looking at this, copying your shit. But I think that the Shade Room has the ability to be the biggest digital property for in media, period, as big as any property. And they got the right CEO running it. And you actually wake up every day thinking about building your business and you care about your people.
I do.
But relying on advertising is going to get you but so far. Your wealth and your success is going to come from building IP that you guys actually own, and you find great partners. All right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about people. How hard is it finding great people as you continue to build your business?
First of all, finding great people has to be the hardest part of business, period. Would you agree?
Finding great people. I have fired more people than I've hired. I have fired more people than I've had success in hiring people. My biggest problem is that I've always tried to find people that think like me. And I don't want to give an excuse for that because it's a terrible idea, but I believe that everybody should do what they say. And I believe that everything you say, you should actually mean. Unfortunately, most people don't operate like that. They say anything they can to get through a conversation. They say anything that they can to get out of a room. So it's very hard for me to work with people who say things and the value of our words are completely different. They say it as a punchline. I say it as a way of life.
Yeah.
So you're building your company and you're hiring people and you expect them to put in all the work and say all the things that are about growing the Shade Room, about helping the company, about showing up on time and doing what they say. And they're treating it like the accountant job that you were treating that accountant job like.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's been the biggest problem, hiring people. Hiring people, maintaining people is the hardest thing in building a business.
There's nothing harder because you can fall from having the wrong people on your side, and you can soar for having the right people. You know what I mean? So it's like there's nothing harder. I think for me, being a woman is hard because you could go in the room and be like, look, everybody works. You could be as demanding as possible, and people will look at you and say, he's a boss. He's men like you. You right? And I think a woman, we have to kind of teeter on the line, because if we do that, we're looked at as, we have attitudes, we're hard to work with and things of that nature. But I think for me, finding good talent, like you said, is hard, but also finding people who are truly passionate. I find that people who work for money don't tend to be the best people for you, right? If their reasoning, they want to, you can give them
I'm not, by the way, I just had a talk with my team earlier. I like small, hard-working, let's just get it in. I never, ever worked for money. Ever, 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 ever.
What would you work for?
For me personally, I love doing things that are smart and innovative and happens before anybody sees it. So, when I left the record business and I built Carol's Daughter, people were like, why would you be building a black beauty business? Why would you leave running a record company to go build a black beauty business? And I'm like, because there's a fucking black beauty aisle in a Walmart that's disgusting. And we need to fix that. That's pollution. Black women should be able to walk into a Target or a Walmart and just pick beauty products in alphabetical order, not in the black beauty section like they're fucking the projects.
Yeah.
When I got into advertising, like, why would you leave running a record company and go into advertising? Because I'm like, advertising needs help. They need my voice. And I got the persistence and the ability to cut through. I'm not afraid of nothing. And that's the thing that keeps me going. When I built UnitedMasters, like, why would you want to break up? I'm going to get in between artists and record companies. I'm going to allow artists to go independent. I think every artist is an independent entrepreneur. I think every artist are their own media channel. I think every artist is their own shade room. I think everybody's their own voice. And they need to be able to build an infrastructure around it. And that's why I wanted to build UnitedMasters, to help free artists so that they could go independent and not sign and give their rights away to record companies. That's what I do it for. Now, if these things are successful, they'll make money. Now, I will say, I'm not on my last 3 months or anything like that. And over time, that happens. But if I wanted to just make the most amount of money, I wouldn't be doing this shit. There's way other things I would be doing. But I'm doing this because I believe that everything that you do in life should be attached to a purpose.
Yes.
And I only want to work with people who believe in a purpose. Because if I just got to work with you and it's just about a paycheck to you, then our words are we're not going to make sense to each other. And I'm going to dislike you. It's not going to work.
Did you, in the beginning, when you were firing people for the first time, because, when you first start a business, it starts off small, right? Yeah. You're starting with a small crew. Did it hurt you? Because I know that's one of the things for me. Like, I started off with the notion, and I learned that this is something you never want to do in business, but we family. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I started off with the notion of family. And so I saw them as family. They saw me as family. But I think the problem with putting family in business is the fact that family you love unconditionally, right? And like business is based on performance. Your team is based on performance. And so when it was time to let go of some of the people who I had called family, it got a little bit like, oh, this, you know what I mean? Like you get that, or they may feel betrayed because they're like, well, family is supposed to be family no matter what. And so I think a lot of business owners start off with that idea that we're family, we're family, we're family. And it's so important to have the right words and to just know that it's based on performance and let them know that from the very beginning. Yeah.
I learned, I have been called, just in case you haven't heard this yet, an asshole my entire career.
I haven't heard it.
Yeah. Well, the reason why is because I never, ever put that in front of business. I believe that businesses are meritocracies, like sports teams. Sports teams are meritocracies. It's all merit-based. The starting quarterback is the starting quarterback because he's the best. There's a period in time when he's not the best. When he's not the best, the next guy gets up. That's how sports teams prevail. It's not a family. It's a merit-based business. And I've always felt like that. Like, I tell my team all the time, you have to wake up every day and look in the mirror and ask yourself, would you hire yourself? Mm-hmm. Would you wake up tomorrow morning, you wake up, should you be the CEO of the Shade Room? If the answer is no, and you're still doing it, that business will fail. We're all merit-based. It's calories in, it's how you gain weight, it's how you lose weight. You eat less, you lose weight. You eat more, you gain weight. You know, you're not as good, the business is not as good. And like, that's what it is. It's a merit-based thing. It's not, that's the problem with business and personal shit. You can't bring personal shit to business. And I know people don't like that and they want to get comfortable. Go work at another company. You can't work here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, you gotta, by the way, now, if you want to make money and take care of your family, that's all good. Give them money, break bread, do whatever, support them, pay for college, whatever. But like this whole idea of hiring them and using a slot that can help change the trajectory of your business.
Yeah.
In order to say you gave a family member a job and everybody claps and applauds you like you did something good. Meanwhile, you're killing your business in the process is a horrible idea.
It is. It is. It is. But I would say yes. You know, just to answer that question, hiring is definitely the hardest part of of it all because it's a constant thing. It's a rotating thing. It's never done. Your job is it's never that you hire the perfect team and you guys are just a perfect team forever. Somebody's going to leave. Somebody's going to transition. You're going to always constantly have to find the best people. The times may change and you have to find people that can meet the times, you know, so it'll always be different. I would say that's the hardest thing. And obviously the second hardest thing will be scale. I mean, can anybody, you know, say that there's two harder things, you know, than scale and hiring?
Nah, you know, Angie, scale, that's why you said something to me when we sat down, because everybody's coming at you to invest in your company. And you're like, I don't want anybody just to come. I want what is strategic. Who's going to really help me build my business? Who can help complement my weak spots? Who can help give me more than money? I can get money from anywhere. These are your words to me. I can get money. It's not about money. I want intelligence, insight, somebody who can help me go to where I got to go to help push my vision. And you keep that head on your shoulder and nothing's going to stop you because everybody's going to come with you with money. Most people are lazy. It's easy for them to come and write you a check and then say, I'm partners in the Shade Room. Man, get the fuck out of here. You're building something that's going to stand the test of time. And you put your entire life into this thing. And whoever your investor is, investors, whoever your employees are, partners, they have to respect that from the door. And every time with what I'm building with UnitedMasters, I talk all the time about authenticity and scale. Anybody we partner with has to be authenticating more of who we are or helping us grow as we become an international company, as we take our solution around the world, We want to make sure that we have partners who are providing us those two functions, credibility and scale. I don't just want money, and I don't want cool people hanging around me making me feel like whatever. I want we want to build something that's going to last forever. This is super serious because we put our lives in this every single day. You know, I know how it is for you when you go to sleep at night and you got to think about payroll, or you don't know if you can make payroll, and you got to think about office space, and you got to think about what to do next, and you ain't got nobody to turn to but that pillow, or you can't sleep at night because there's so much on your mind.
Because the whole company's like, where do we go? Has there ever been a time when the whole company is asking you where did we go and you genuinely didn't know, but you had to like get up the next morning and be like, we going here, you know? Have you ever had that?
I remember one time I stood up in front of the company and I said to them, it was at Carol's daughter, I said, how do you guys feel working for a company that doesn't know how it's going to make payroll next month? I said that. I said, because that's the guy that you're looking at right now. I want everybody to know that you're staring at a guy right now who does not know how he's going to make payroll next month. So when you see my face, when you talk to me, when you ask me questions, please know that's the mentality behind the answer. And I wasn't saying that to scare them. I was saying that for them to know the truth and how an entrepreneur has to operate.
Yeah.
Your job isn't to run around and make everybody feel more protected than they really are. Your job is to build a business and do what's right for the business. And if they want to get that close and be a part of the journey, then they need to know that every single month, every 6 months, we have no idea where we're going to go. You just, how are we going to grow? I don't know. I just know that I believe. And that's why you can't work for a check, because you got to believe. The more people you have that believe, I'm fortunate enough to have some great people who believe in me as a leader. That's the one thing as a CEO, you got to inspire people believe in you. And they believe like no matter where he's going to get us there. They believe in me. And I got to make those people a lot of money. Like that's I hold that to my heart. But anybody who works for a paycheck, as soon as I start figuring that out, they're the first ones to go because they don't believe. They believe in what they see. They believe in the headline that just got written. I want people who believe in me.
Right.
So
I feel you.
Obviously you and I can speak for hours, and we are, because I think that you are unbelievable. I can't be any more complimentary of Angie and what you've built. And congratulations on your 6th anniversary. I am proud of you, girl. You look fucking fantastic right now.
Thank you.
You look absolutely fantastic. Thank you for all of your support. And anything that we can do or I can do to help you, you know, like I have to see you succeed. And go all the way.
You definitely have been, there for me. So thank you so much. And I'm proud of you. I think that sometimes when you get to the level that you are at, you don't hear that as much because people are like expecting you to be great. But I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of all the stuff that you have accomplished as well, because you really are a role model for so many men, so many Black men, to be able to see you rise to the top. And you've accomplished a lot. And so I want to tell you that. I don't know how often you hear it, but I want to tell you that. So.
Angie, thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Fireside Chat. Angie, you're the best. God bless you.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye.